It's clear that we live in an age of pathological short-termism. Our politicians can barely see past the next election or even the latest tweet. Businesses can't see past the next quarterly report. Markets spike, then crash in speculative bubbles. Nations sit around international conference tables, focused on their near-term interests, while the planet burns and species disappear. And as individuals, we're constantly answering the latest text and clicking the buy now button. This is the age of the tyranny of the now. And it's obvious, I think, that we need long-term thinking to deal with this tyranny of the now. We need it to do long-term planning in public health care to get ready for the next pandemic that might be on the horizon. We need it to tackle racial injustice that gets passed on from generation to generation, embedded in criminal justice systems and cultural institutions more broadly. We need it to prepare us for technological risks, such as the risks from AI-controlled lethal autonomous weapons. And of course, we need long-term thinking to help us confront the challenge of the climate crisis, biodiversity loss, soil degradation, our addiction to fossil fuels. And there's a kind of paradox here, which is that the need for long-term thinking is incredibly urgent. We need it right here, right now. And the way I think about this is that I believe that humankind has colonized the future. We treat the future like a distant colonial outpost where we can freely dump ecological degradation and technological risk as if there was nobody there. And it's a bit like the way when Britain colonized Australia in the 18th and 19th century, they drew on a legal doctrine now known as terra nullius, nobody's land. They treated the continent as if there were no indigenous people. Of course there were. And I think today what we've also got alongside terra nullius is tempus nullius. The future is seen as nobody's time, an uninhabited territory that is ours for the taking. And the tragedy is that tomorrow's generations aren't here to challenge this pillaging of their inheritance. They can't leap in front of the king's horse like a suffragette, or stage a sit-in like a civil rights activist, or go on a salt march to defy their colonial oppressors like Mahatma Gandhi. They're granted no political rights or representation. They have no influence at the marketplace. The great silent majority of future generations is rendered powerless. But it can be very difficult to grasp the scale of this injustice. So look at it this way. There are 7.7 billion people alive today. Now, over the past 50,000 years, an estimated 100 billion people have been born and died. But both of these are far outweighed by the nearly 7 trillion people who will be born over the next 50,000 years, assuming current birth rates stabilize. So there in that giant orange circle are all your grandchildren and their grandchildren and the friends and communities on whom they'll depend. And I think the question that really matters is, how are those future generations going to judge us for what we did or didn't do when we had the chance?